Good morning. Hi, this is Patty Joe, and I want to do a little bit more with our deep dive into the Brooklyn Homes situation in Baltimore. Everybody knows that in early July, the week before um, the July 4th celebration, there was a party in the southernmost neighborhood, one of the southernmost neighborhoods of Baltimore, in the Brooklyn Homes housing um, community. Now, I want to start by saying we need to be respectful. We know this was a tragic, tragic event. If this is triggering to you, please find something else to watch. Please participate kindly. These are people who are very much affected by this. This has, you know, now become the poster child, so to speak, for the current crime situation in Baltimore, and it's rather I don't have videos today, so we're going to be looking at some information. What I would like to cover today is I always want to start with something about the community. So we're going to look at Brooklyn Day. We're going to look at what it was, kind of the history of it, which there isn't a lot online because this is just something that occurred. Then we're going to flip back over to Safe Streets because Safe Streets is getting a lot of heat. Maybe deserved, maybe not. Let's take a real dig in deep dive to what all of this is, where it started, how it gets its money, all these things, how the Baltimore government is involved in it, how the police are connected to it, everything. I think that really needs a good look. But let's get started with, again, another quick look at the Brooklyn Homes community. Again, this is a good picture, nicely lit. This actually, I don't know if my big head is covering it, is the so-called streets that are within this community. They are one lane, and coming from the fire department, I can tell you that an engine can fairly easily get down here. A medic unit or an ambulance can fairly easily get down this, but it is pretty much curb to curb. So this isn't a lot of space. These are this here would represent one unit, a couple of bedrooms upstairs, bathroom, and downstairs with kitchen and living space. So they're fairly basic. They're not terrible. They're really tight in, and that concept's going to come up quickly. But this is a community. Um, Lower income or not, this is a community, and I mentioned last time we may be talking about people who don't make a lot of money, underemployed, underemployable, possibly a large portion of them, not all of them, but a large portion. Um, Undereducated, again, a large portion. The schools, where we could take a look at that angle too. But it is indeed a community with all the problems that a community and all the advantages that a community and all the potential that a community has. I want to go down here and look a little bit. I will try to remember to put all of these links in the description so you can take a look at these. But I'm going to go down. This is an article from 2023, about 10 days after the event. Um, and I want to look at Brooklyn Days because even on social media, I didn't have a lot of luck finding. I guess I wouldn't be invited. I don't have any friends that live in that area. I worked in the area. I live close to the area, but I'm not in this neighborhood. Um, I'm also, you know, an old woman, so probably not a huge draw for me. But I was probably asleep well before this party started. Okay, but here we go. It's a long tradition for over 25 years. Chambers, which I haven't looked, but it's someone in authority there, says the Brooklyn Home Tenant Council has hosted Brooklyn Day party. It's a block party, basically. It's a community party for this area. around July 4th. And I think it's usually the week or the weekend before the July 4th holiday. An event that has traditionally attracted a cross section of Baltimore ranging from sheriff's deputies, police brass, public housing residents, and other citizens from across the city. And that was true here too. In fact, one of the tragedies here was the young lady who lived south of the city. Not really even a resident, but I don't know, maybe had friends in the area or lived in the area in the past. I'm not sure what her but she obviously had some ties there. The party has gone on for years, and has been fine. Families meet, eat, enjoy themselves. There's music. I know there is because I've heard it before in the past when I've worked. The This one this year got out of control. I think that's an understatement. And the city should just say that instead of ducking and denying. There's a lot going on, and believe me, we are going to take some deep dives. I'm going to get some video on those from the news clips about these, questions, which I take issue with too. And that's just one piece, and we will discuss and move into this article even more later. And I will pin this to the description. And if you comment, or if anybody likes to comment, please point out anything, and we can discuss. So let's not forget, this is a community. This was a block party. Now, how did it get so quote unquote out of control? Okay, that's another question. One of the biggest complaints, I don't know, a thing that's coming up in the news, a lot of question that's coming specifically from Fox News was Safe Streets was there, they were there, they were there. What did they do? Be transparent? And I think those are very superficial questions. I'm sorry, Fox News. I think you're very superficial in your questions. So I want to go a lot deeper and start at the beginning. I mentioned this last time in the intro video where I said Safe Streets was started from a study. It was started from an epidemiologist. It was started by people who were looking at this intellectually. So let's first, I keep saying epidemiologist. What is an epidemiologist, you say? Well, they're a scientist. We know that. This is from, I think this is just basically a website, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is just going to give us some basic. Epidemiologists are public health workers. Okay, so they're looking at the public health. That makes sense for an epidemiologist to look at crime and violence in an area. That would be who you would go to look at it. They investigate causes of patterns of disease and injury. So trauma, the violence, would be a cause of injury. So again, that's why we're hearing this over and over. They work at offices, labs, so not a lot of street cred. Local governments, hospitals, universities, they're the intellectuals. They look at this and they say, oh my goodness, isn't this terrible? And then they're the ones that dig in and try to figure out why. I don't know if there's a lot of street credibility there, but I think you have to really give some credibility to their intellect, their education, whatever. Okay. So you need a master's degree, you need a master's degree in public health or a related field, and something in medicine. So they are scientists. So this person, Dr. Gary Slutkin, which I know I am butchering, I'm going to start calling him Dr. S or Dr. Gary. He is an epidemiologist from Illinois, I believe. He started the ceasefire. He started Safe Streets all back in 2000 from a study. Here is a paper. I don't know if this is an original study, but this is from NIH. It is from him and from the University of Illinois. So cure violence is what they're now calling ceasefire in Chicago. They're all modeled after this same framework. And what I want to point out in here is he's got three basic ideas. He's calling this violence a disease. That's what he's calling it. Kind of like, we call, it's debatable, is alcoholism a disease or a choice? Is uh, you know, being overweight a disease or a choice? And is it both? Is it I don't know, but that's I'm thinking his basic premise. He's got three main characteristics that he is using and comparing disease processes to violence, and that is clustering, spread, and transmission. Okay, so with diseases, with any disease, um, you have a population that's together. Then you have people giving that bacteria, like he's got cholera mentioned here. You've got that them sharing the problem, and then it spreads. And then he also talks in this section about waves of that and things. This is a very long and laborious read, but it is indeed the basis for his ideas. Transmission is the passage of the infection um, from one organism to another. So he's saying we can pass violence from one person, and I guess you can see that. I don't know, but this is the basis for safe streets, um, cure violence, uh, ceasefire, whatever it is you want to call it. These concepts are the basis for that. Okay, so that's pretty heavy. All right, and like I said, this is going to be a deep dive because, then we got to say, how is violence like a disease? So let's just stop at that point. Here is the safe streets. This comes straight from the Baltimore City government site, and again, I will try to. This is the PDF, but I'll try to link it. And again, this is then where it comes. There's 5 core components coming from those 3 um, things he's identified as really a disease process. And with safe streets, let's look at this a little bit more clearly. Okay, with safe streets, we have the 5 core components are community mobilization, public outreach, public education, faith-based leadership involvement, and criminal justice participation. Okay, so criminal justice participation is where I think they may have lacked. Now, that's just the basics of safe streets, 5 core components. And they use these outreach workers for conflict mediation, or they call it violence interruption. And according to some of the other studies, the reason why, I don't know if I've still got that, this was all adopted is when it started in Chicago, they said there was a 67% decrease in gun violence in 1 year. That's an interesting statistic. That's why this has caught on. But these are your 5 core concepts: community mobilization, focusing on residents, local businesses, services, members of the faith community to build a safer, that's a very vague statement. They take the lead on community mobilization by building neighborhood-based coalitions of local law enforcement, youth organizations, faith leaders, block clubs, and residents. Hmm. Outreach. Outreach workers are street smart individuals who identify and engage individuals who are at high risk of becoming involved in violence in order to prevent shootings and killings from occurring. Okay, so they meet with and work with those they assist on non traditional settings, parks, streets, corners, places, young people. Okay, so they meet them where they are. Okay, that's reasonable. Broad-based public education campaign to facilitate behavior change and promote nonviolence. For T-shirts and buttons and other materials that disparage violence and carry a pointed message. Okay, that sounds fun. Faith-based leaders. That sounds reasonable. Members of faith community to perform activities and complement those outreach workers. Okay. And criminal justice participation. This is where I'm going to leave this because I think I need to read this really closely, and we need to pick this apart and see where the criminal justice participation comes in, because I think they're going to have a hard time making this meet with the community outreach. If you're trying to meet these people where they are and they're already suspect of law enforcement, then you're not going to have a lot of credibility. They're not going to talk to you. Tell me what you think about this. And again, I want to go back to this beautiful picture where these people were just trying to have a block party. Please be kind. Please share. If there's anybody who's raising money for anybody who needs anything in the area, please let me know. I will link those to these videos as well. We can try to spread the word. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for indulging me in probably a little bit more of one of the boring ones, but maybe an important baseline for what we really need to look at and where we really need to go with this. Like, share, subscribe, whatever good things happen. I hope you have a great day. And thank you and goodbye.